Maybe we should put it out again.
I think comms have put something out already. It's on the exchange, yeah.
It's on exchange.
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, Venus.
Hi. I'm just going to wait for a little bit more for people to actually join us as well, but it's actually really good to actually see people are joining in, so that's really good. I'm just going to put the slides up as well, so hopefully it will work.
A point of high danger when you put the slides up.
Ah, brilliant. Fantastic. And then TJ, I have also noticed that actually we started recording now. Brilliant. Okay, so I will edit and share with colleagues in our ground rules slide shortly as well. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. That's great. So we will, for people who are actually just joining us, just to say that we only just started. Well, we haven't actually officially started, but welcome. We will just give it another 30 seconds, and then I actually going to start anyway, because we actually got a very packed agenda today. Brilliant. So I'm actually going to start now. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And this is our second quarterly open meeting that actually is by our network, Race Equality Network. And what I actually will be sort of like sharing with you now, first of all, is actually the session plan. So we have got a few things planned for you. First of all, can I just say thank you very much for our members in the Race Equality Network, and also my two, I probably will call them my partners in crime, George, who is the chair of LGBT QI Staff Network, and actually Sarah, who is the chair for the Carers Network as well, because they actually been supporting me, and we actually all of us put this agenda together. And also thank you very much, TJ, for your ongoing support, and Nadia and Frina. Can I also please extend our thanks to you guys? So you will probably see this session plan throughout, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, but you can see, as I said, it's very packed today. Just very, very quickly, just to introduce ourselves, for people who actually don't know about us, we are the Race Equality Network, and this is actually the purpose that our ambition. We are trying to build equality around race and culture, allowing our colleagues to bring their whole selves to work as well. So this is actually we've been doing, we do actually meet once a month. And naturally, I could see that a few of our colleagues are already here joining us today. And what we actually do is actually each of your service lines, you should have a representative joining us and discussing various issues. And sometimes our network members also share what sort of things they have been observing that's good or bad. And we actually try to have a discussion as well. And every 3 months, that's why I said we have this quarterly meeting. We actually open it up to everyone in the trust, because we want to ensure that you know what you're doing and actually get to hear your voice as well. So for today, our theme is actually about becoming an anti-racist, or some people might say anti-racist, but I'm going to just say anti-racist organization. So that is actually our theme today. So thank you very much, as I said, joining us. The purpose of the session is actually for us to have a bit of a platform, to have room to reflect and discuss what does anti-racism means to us all, and actually what can we do to drive measurable outcomes. And I'm very, very sure you all know that we've been doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes, and we also got our tackling health inequalities committee. So quite a lot of things are all working together. But today we actually would like to have to hear from you what you think as well. Just very, very quickly about the ground rules, and we actually would ask you to be respectful, and if you can actually mute yourself when you're not speaking. We do have the chat functions here as well, so obviously do feel free to add any comments. And what I think will be quite useful as well is if you don't mind to put down who you are, maybe where you work as well in the chat function as an introduction. That will be very helpful. We also would ask you to actually use raise your hand icon. So if you actually would like to speak, rather than to actually just unmute yourself, is actually just raise your hand first. We will have a poll throughout our whole sessions, an hour and a half, asking your views and comments. So I would definitely encourage you to actually engage, but we will be actually telling you what the polls are about shortly after TJ's session as well. And we do understand that this is actually quite, it could be a very uncomfortable, difficult subject as well. So if you do need further support after the sessions today, please reach out to TJ or myself. We also got Speak Up Guardians, Speak Up Champions across some different services in the trust as well. So please do reach out. And of course, we have our staff support service as well. As you can see in here, today's slide and video recording and resources that actually we're using will be hopefully on the exchange within the next 10 working days. So you'll be able to get everything as well. Just to say that we don't normally record meetings like this, but we are recording it today because we have received a lot of requests from our colleagues who are not able to make it today, or actually this time. So I would actually just like to remind you kindly that some of you might not wish to share your personal experience here, but as I said, we're happy to hear. We would love to actually hear from you. So you got different platforms as well. And so that's actually the ground rules really. So just to kick off a little bit, I just going to sort of like open it up from the national context. As you all know, yeah, we have got a few high-profile cases recently, and as we also actually heard from Dr. Navina Evans, who is actually the Chief Exec of Health Education England, as well as our Chief People Officer as NHS England. So she has actually mentioned that EDI is actually everyone's business. And that's why we're actually very pleased to have you all. It doesn't matter what is your racial background, what is your cultural background. We are actually having you all here because it is everyone's business. And the other thing that is actually quite useful to put down is about the people plan that we have got in there. We also mentioned about how we can support colleagues to develop and actually to thrive. And again, as I just said earlier as well, it is really about we are not parting EDI as such, just individually or to a small group of people, but actually we can all take accountability and responsibility in what we do and how we are as well. So that is actually the national context really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass you on to TJ Adebayo Tijani, who is our head of EDI. Hopefully you all know him already. So TJ, I'm going to continue to share the slide, and the platform is over to you.
Thank you very much, Venus. And again, I suppose for those who don't know me, my name is Adebayo Tijani. Most people know me as TJ within the organization. And as you can see, I'm the head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, working within the Directorate of Workforce and Organizational Development. What I would like to do in today's session is just possibly talk about some of the things that the organization has been doing to, support individuals, giving access to opportunities, but also eliminating, discrimination, bullying, and harassment, anything inappropriate behavior, essentially. But more importantly, we'd like to hear from yourselves, given the fact that we've done so much looking at our staff surveys. It seems, there are still some concerns, particularly around race. And when I mean race, I'm not just talking about BAME, equally non-BAME as well. So we'd like to hear from yourselves what your views and thoughts are. 1 second. So next slide, please. Yes, so a couple of things that we've been doing in regards to improving access. And as you can see, there have been a lot of things in regards to recruitment. As of now, we've done a lot of work to, increase representation across the organization that not only reflects, the demographics we serve, but equally is represented at all levels. We've done a lot around recruitment training. We've done a lot, having more diverse representative panels. We've revamped the whole recruitment process, and again, taking into account some of the gaps, and then equally made necessary adjustments. We've done quite a lot of things around talent management. As you well know, there's now a talent pool that's open to everyone within the organization. But what we've been able to do is take into account the representation within that talent pool as well, looking at the numbers of people from BAME and non-BAME backgrounds, making sure that again it reflects the organization. We've done quite a lot around development opportunities, particularly in this case for BAME, where we have the Leadership Ladder Program, which allows for opportunities. It's an ICS level, I suppose, project that's catered towards helping people from BAME backgrounds get into more senior roles across the ICS. We've had our transitional BAME lead, I suppose, individuals, again, within the organization, allowing for people to gain experience at senior level. We have a BAME leadership program that we'll be going into as well. So not to say that we've neglected other, and just focusing on race. We have the lead by example that's open to everyone within the trust. So quite a lot of stuff that we've done to promote and open those doors for equal opportunity. Next slide, please. The second thing that we've been doing is trying to foster a collaborative, I suppose, relationships between individuals from different backgrounds, regardless of their ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or if they have a disability or long-term condition. We know that a lot of these issues around discrimination, bullying, harassment as a result of protected characteristics. And it is our aim to kind of, maintain those relationships by people, who have protected characteristics and those who don't, by eliminating bullying and harassment. So we put together a raft of projects in a meaningful way. Please, next slide. And this, as you can see, is the diagram of what we've done so far, but also when to actually tap into some of these resources. As you can see, quite a lot of training has been developed. We have the big conversations, which we normally, engage. It's an engagement, I suppose, opportunity to engage with individuals to help them, tell us what they think. And again, we have one that's, if there's a comms going out where we'll be engaging with people, talking about their responses to the staff survey. So please just, look out for that once you see it on the exchange. We have the expected behavior workshops and active bystander training, which is there to, I suppose, help people make sense of, the mutual understanding of what is expected within teams in regards to behavior. It also allows for people to better understand what's appropriate and inappropriate, but equally how to challenge those things. We also have the Speak Up Guardian place, which again is there to allow for people who want to kind of raise concerns anonymously. Could equally be used if, you just want to raise a concern, but another channel. We've been piloting the HR bot, which is another avenue, but there's also restorative early resolution that we have in place, where we, as a form of mediation, where we help people build relationships where communication is broken down. Next slide, please. Now, I've mentioned quite a lot of stuff, and there's still a lot, but just for the benefit of time. Now, we've done quite a lot within the organization. However, as you can see, this diagram is our last, staff survey results from 2020 to 2022. And I felt the need to share this with yourselves so that we can see, is to make sense of the impact of some of the things that we've done. While there has been a huge uptake in terms of people responding to the staff surveys, which we like to thank everyone for feeling confident to bring to our attention things that we should be looking at, there's been not so much improvement, and I'll be the first to say that. The areas where you can see where there's a star, those are the places with quite a lot of deterioration but especially in regards to high numbers of response rates. And as you can see, the experience, one of the questions, this is just one of the questions in the staff surveys 2022, which is, in the last 12 months, have you personally experienced discrimination at work from a manager, team leader, or your colleague? Now, looking at this, you can equally just say those who've had the worst experience are from Black, African, Caribbean, Black, British, and any other Black, African, group. That's gone down, but equally, it's been an issue since 2021, and it's still prevalent in 2022. One that's deteriorated quite a lot also is, people from the mixed multiple ethnic group, followed by, other ethnic group. I also want to mention, in my opinion, we do have the Asian group. Anyone from an Asian background, that's deteriorated as well, though not as much as the rest. I also like to mention, we might see some greens, while it might look slightly like, people aren't experiencing, but there's also a deterioration around, people from white backgrounds as well to take into account. So what does this mean? From what I can see, it means there are some things that we're not getting right. And I want to put my hand up to it. But also, this clearly highlights that discrimination is experienced by everyone, affects everyone. So there needs to be a more joined up, collaborative approach in addressing it. And that's why we're here today, to hear from yourselves, what is it we can do? Because this is around race. And again, can we equally say that, the organization is anti-racist from what you can see, right there? And again, there are other questions, other areas we're doing quite well, but in this area, not so well, especially for certain groups. Next slide, please. So with discussions with, we've taken it to the board, we've spoken with the network, and what the approach is to, start to engage with our community, our staff, to see what is it you think to be, and again, it's for it to be meaningful, because we've taken into account that we've put so much out there, and in some areas there's been improvement, but in some areas there hasn't. So there's a gap there. We don't want to start to put things in place that might not necessarily have an impact. And we've acknowledged that, hence the reason why we thought we'd have an anti-racist strategy approach that caters to everyone, of all races. And again, as you can see, necessary steps. What we want to do is speak to yourselves, get a sense of what you think, then we can start to put together a strategy, taking into account what actions need to be done, what's the evaluation monitoring process that we need to put in place, but also a certain level of accountability as well. Next slide, please. So these are some of the key things, and I'm not sure if you can see the slides very well, to think about. We want to ask the question, what does it mean to be an anti-racist organization? And I'm going to share a poll for those people who have access to it. We just want to hear your thoughts. And I'm just going to open that up now. And anything that you think of, you could take into account all the things, and it could be around access, it could be around behaviors. You could look at things that I've already shown, things you're aware of. What else can we do, that would allow for us to make that difference? So I'm just going to go ahead and start to launch a couple of these. 1 second, please.
Thank you, TJ. And just to say, I actually noticed Caroline raised her hand. Caroline, would you like to come in first?
Thanks, Venus. It might be my eyes, but I'm finding it quite difficult to read the text on some of these slides. Can you just read out the headings of 1 to 7?
Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
So the first question to think about is, you know, in order to determine if, you know, the organization, or what does it mean for the organization to be anti-racist? First of all, is there an acknowledgement of where we are in terms of being anti-racist? That would be the first thing. You know, and again, in order to answer that question, you want to be thinking about, you know, is there access to opportunities, you know, across the organization? How well do we deal with, you know, issues, complaints in regard that, you know, evolve around race? You know, the second thing to think about is how well do we involve people within, you know, within the decision-making process, even though, and again, taking into account when we do a lot of stuff like, you know, equality impact assessment of our process, our policies, you know, but that's a higher level. At, you know, the lower levels, at the meetings, when we're distributing, you know, work or making decisions that impact people's work, how well do we get people involved in those conversations? And again, there's something about the systems that we have. I already mentioned, you know, process impact assessment of, you know, our policies. Is that working? You know, what else could we do differently? There are things around how well do we allow for people to share their experiences, and, you know, are we clear on how to properly challenge where accountability lies in? You know, how well embedded are we in terms of promoting awareness, developing people to kind of, you know, bring to their attention some of the key issues that might be faced by people from certain backgrounds. And again, looking at how well our policies, you know, reflect an anti-racist stance. And again, how well do we take action, which is really around the accountability piece. So those are the 7 areas, essentially. 1 second, sorry about that. I'm just trying to start the actual forms, the polls.
Brilliant, thank you, TJ. So while you're doing the technology side, so I just want to say that thank you very much for actually giving us an oversight what's happening with our trust and actually the staff survey as well. And that's actually very helpful. I have actually put down a kind of like screenshot on the chat as well, so you guys probably will be able to see it. So the first poll, I think TJ, you have already put it on there now. So we're actually asking colleagues to actually put down what does racism mean to you. And please feel free to actually put any comments and respond in there. And actually remember as well, this is also anonymous, because what we are trying to focus today is actually to collect intelligence so that would actually drive us to have more actions as well. And I think TJ, what's going to happen is that we will continue to actually have these polls throughout in between as well. So I think I will leave you to do that. Brilliant. Brilliant. That's great. Oh, actually, I think the polls are now. I think all of them are out already, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Brilliant. So apologies, colleagues, for actually like seeing it. So you will. I think you also can't really move the proposal is actually right in the middle. So if you actually don't mind spending a bit of time, just putting some of your thoughts, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention there are 5 questions. All you have to do is, once you finish one, there's a next button, and just complete all 5 questions, just to give us, you know, just your views, your thoughts.
Brilliant. I'm also crazily typing, as you can tell as well by the noise, but thank you, colleagues. And I also just want to apologize again to people who are actually in a different room. So hopefully I think I could see that there's a few more people join us. But the recording and everything else and all the resources that we actually use, and including these poll results, will be shared on the exchange later on. Brilliant. Lovely. Right, so hopefully you all have think about you have time to actually do the polls. Thank you very much, and apologize that we are actually not initially we were hoping to have the polls out throughout the sessions, but I think we're still learning with the technologies. But as long as we can actually collect some of your data intelligence, that's great. What probably will be very helpful as well is if you would like to actually add any comments at the side, please feel free to do so. So without further ado, I actually gonna move on to the next sessions. And we are actually very, very pleased to have invited Ruby Gubarasani. Hopefully I actually pronounced your name correctly. We have got Ruby joining us today. Thank you very much for coming. And basically, Ruby, I think you'll be talking to us a little bit about the BAME leadership program, which I think one of our colleagues already made a comment about when is next. So this is actually something very exciting. And I think what probably very useful as well, Ruby, is if you can also share a little bit about why do you think that this program is very important in relation to our agenda about being becoming anti-racist organizations, and that will be very helpful. So Ruby, over to you.
Thank you, Venus, and thank you everyone for inviting me today. A happy Ramadan to everyone who's fasting as well. I'm fasting too, so I'm looking forward to breaking my fast later on today. So I'm Ruby. I'll tell you a little bit about me first and introduce myself. So I've had about 14 years experience working in organizational development and learning. And was leading and equality, diversity and inclusion, and was leading that across 3 NHS organisations over the past 7 years. I left the NHS last year to pursue my passion and my dream to supporting organisations and individuals to really be an equitable organisation, a fairer organisations, and I've been doing that for the last year. So I haven't looked back. I've really been doing my dream in terms of really supporting people and developing people. Apart from my professional kind of background, I'm a mum of 3. Love all things food. I'm a big foodie, and I'm also biggest fan of theatre. So I'm a board member of the English Touring Theatre. So in my spare time, absolutely love performing and singing, and I bring all of those things into everything that I do as well. So I thought I'll share a little bit about me too. So why have I been working? I've been working with West London Mental Health Trust and supporting with building this BAME leadership program. I'll tell you a little bit about the program, and then I'll answer Venus's question in terms of why that's important and an important area in building an anti-racist organisation and an equitable organisation. Venus, if you can go to the next slide, please. So we have, I've designed a development program for ethnically diverse staff. I guess I'll start with why is that important in putting interventions like this in place. We know that in the NHS for a very long time, we've been talking about model employer goals. We've been talking about breaking the glass ceiling and having diverse representation in senior roles. And it's really important to not only just talk about that, but really provide those spaces for people to be able to learn, educate themselves, network with others, but also really know what it feels like and how to prepare to get to those types of roles. What does that journey look like for me specifically to get into that journey, into the boardroom roles or any senior leadership roles, and for West London Mental Health Trust to really support you in being able to do that. So that's how it builds that cohesion, that networking, and that support to enable you to be your most authentic self, but also to step into your greatness. We all have skills and passions, and this is one of those ways that's going to help you get to that position. So this program that we've put together in collaboration with TJ and a few of people that are here today is really, it'll be about an 8-month-long program, split into different kind of workshops, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Actually, TJ, do you want to talk through the process first before I talk about the program, or would you like me to cover this bit?
I'm happy to go through and just kind of mention a couple of things about the program. So yes, absolutely. It's quite similar to what initially we had before. The reason why we've slightly tweaked and changed is based on feedback, from people who've been on the program before, particularly, how, after they finished the program, what the next steps were, how well, what they did before worked for them. So what we've done is we've looked at several key things around experience, helping people, and again, evidence and experience of operating at a senior level. Another thing that we've done is, we've done an element where we're inviting, board members to come on to, to have a conversation, to kind of share their own stories, and listen and kind of use that. It's almost like mentoring, but not just to see how, they can draw from people's experiences and see how that factors into their own career paths. One key thing about this particular program is people will walk, at the end of it, will walk out with a career plan that we will monitor with them as they progress into the next step of their careers. So the first thing will be a couple of programs that they're in the next slides in terms of the structure. The first thing we'll do, go out for applications. With the applications, which will be done in conjunction with managers, we do the normal shortlisting process. And again, we'll just communicate, once we choose individuals to get on the program, we'll start to engage with them in terms of the timing and the next steps. And again, once that's finished, once they finish the program itself, the coaching sessions, the mentoring sessions, and again, we'll communicate, the next step in terms of the graduation, but also how the career plan that they've developed, which will be done with them, along with them, the next steps in terms of, what needs to follow suit, within the, the devised career plans that they have. So that's pretty much an overview of that. We should be starting around May time. And again, we're trying to make sure, due to, certain pressures of work, we're timing it in that way. And I know there's a couple of, I'm not sure what it's called when kids go off, on holiday. So again, it's tailored around, a convenient time where we know most people would be available to attend. So hence the reason why it's in May. So just look out for the applications. We intend to send it to everyone, from bands 7 up to bands 8B, and see how that goes, because again, it's mainly for people trying to, go into senior roles, AA and above. Not to say we don't have anything else for people who are not in those bands. There are lots of other, courses, but we want to particularly start with band 7 because that's where the blockage is. So yes, I'll just hand over to you, Ruby.
Thank you, TJ. I just wanted you to introduce why the difference between the two programs that were on previously. Thank you so much. Venus, if you can go to the next slide, please. So as TJ said, this is directed at people from band 7 up to band 8B who are ethnically diverse. The program is broken down into 5 different workshops. So the first workshop is called Connecting to My Best Me. So that's all about your authenticity. Like I said before, stepping into your greatness. So that's about understanding yourself, identity, your purpose, vision, and values, and what does success look like to you. So that's essentially the first thing that you need to kind of have clarity on before you start building on that. We'll then move on to another workshop called Amplifying My Best Me, and that's all about authority, impact, and presence. So that's your influencing skills, how to have those difficult, courageous, and bold conversations, and how to flex that depending on who you're speaking to, different audiences. We know that working in the NHS, we speak to different people all the time, and it's how do we flex that based on that, and that's broken down into 2 4-hour workshops. We'll then move on to the interview skills, because that's really, really important. So self-preparation, the interview questions, techniques, a bit about some research that we'll share with you, but also mastering your emotions and the logistical planning that you'll need to take place. So at the end of that session, you will be walking away with your personal statement. As when you're applying for any role in the NHS, you need to do your supporting statement. So you'll have a really good kind of idea of that supporting statement and start thinking about the types of roles that you'd like to apply for and plan for that. Then we move on to a workshop called Brave Leadership, Bold Action. So this is essentially what TJ was just referring to a second ago. So it's a bit of a roundtable Q&A with senior leaders from your organization from ethnically diverse backgrounds. It's really important to know what it feels like to be in a senior leadership position if you're from a Black and brown background, if you're ethnically diverse. What were the challenges? What were my barriers? How did I get there? What tips can I give? And I think that's something that we're going to put together where you'll get to meet your senior colleagues. They'll share a bit about their reflections, but also an opportunity for you to network and ask them questions too. The second part of that workshop will also be then you doing your personal development plan that TJ just mentioned. So a very clear plan of what is it, what am I great at? What are the areas that I need to develop in and put a bit more work on that? And what does that look like? And when will I be doing that by? And finally, what support would I require to enable me to get there? Once you've done that, anyone who comes into the program will have to select a project that they'll want to work on. And then they'll be given further support and shaping that success. So you'll get team coaching sessions and individual one-to-one coaching sessions as well to help you through that journey. There'll be an evaluation
I'm in the
process.
meeting. You're right. Is it urgent? You sure? Here's a quick question.
Sorry. At the end of the session, you will be supported throughout that whole journey. There will be an evaluation process, opportunities for you to reflect, self-reflect, diarize all of that stuff, and get that one-to-one, like I said, with mentorship and support throughout that process too. So that gives you a bit of an overview of what's going to be covered in the program. If you go to the next slide, please, Venus. These are some of the dates that you need to be aware of. So TJ's already explained when the process is going to start, but the first workshop is going to be on the 22nd of May, and then it will move over to the 7th and 28th of June. There is the interview skills workshop. Currently, we've chosen the 27th of July, but TJ's made a very good point that we may need to confirm these dates because we know that in July and August, we've got summer holidays, the kids are off, people might be taking annual leave. So we might need to confirm those last kind of 3 workshops in terms of when is the best time to make sure that everyone is able to attend. So we will be planning, currently they're planned for July, and then we'll be agreeing when the Brave Leadership Bold Actions and when the one-to-one conversations and coaching sessions will happen. So that kind of gives you the timetable of when that will happen. Of course, once you apply, you'll get further information about that and some confirmed dates before you even go through the application process as to when that will be. Is there one more slide, I think? Right, so at the end of the program, like TJ said, we want you to not only just have that self-awareness and confidence and increase that, but identify your personal strengths. We're all great at something, right? And I purposely say, what are you great at? Because it's so much easier to say what I'm good at, and we don't like to say that we're great at something because it sounds like we're boasting, but actually we are great at things. Being great at something doesn't mean that that you're consistent in that. It just means that that's something that you're brilliant at. So identifying your personal strengths and what you're great at. You'll walk away with developing your resilience. I don't like to often use the term resilience. I kind of like to use emotional fitness because it feels like it's something more tangible. So develop resilience in leadership and confidence through the successful challenging of barriers, perceived and potential barriers. You will be adopting a coaching style of leadership, which will be embedded into the principles of compassionate leadership, as you know, across the NHS. And finally, learn how to effectively present yourself for development opportunities. So that practical guidance, those tools, those models, those tips to really push you as far as you can go in terms of how do I present myself in those situations. Finally, that action plan, like I said, that you'll be supported with through coaching. Is there another slide? I think that's the last one, Venus.
I think that's the one, Ruby. Thank you very much. And I'm just wondering if you can actually just quickly tell us why do you think, from your personal perspective, that this training would actually help us to drive this the anti-racism agenda as an organization, please?
I think this is a positive action project. So, we know that this is historically, we know that when we look at senior leadership roles, when we look at decision making, you need to have a group of people that are from a diverse background. diversity of thinking, diversity of experience. And the only way to do that is to support people and bring them along in that journey, to make sure that those where decisions are being made, there is diverse representation. How can we make decisions about people from different backgrounds if the people that are making decisions don't look like represent the communities that we serve or our workforce? So that's really, really important. So I think in being an anti-racist organization, it means more than just saying the optical stuff of we're ticking a box. This is more than ticking a box, because actually what we're doing is we're saying to all the delegates that are going to be part of this program that not only are you going to be developing those skills, you're going to be able to identify those gaps that you need to work on, and we'll be supporting you in getting that experience so that when you do go to an interview, you're able to talk about that experience that you've got, and then therefore having more of a chance to get those roles and be appointed for those roles. So it's preparing you for those types of roles. I think that helps becoming an anti-racist organization amongst everything else that you've discussed earlier today in the agenda, because it's that active interventions that really remove those barriers to success, those barriers to breaking the glass ceiling. I hope that answered your question, Venus.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Ruby. And I think in a way, just actually looking at the program, it looks absolutely fantastic, very practical. It sounds like there will be some uncomfortable conversations that are going to be had, but actually it will drive to, as you said, it's actually helping colleagues to step into their greatness, isn't it? So that's absolutely brilliant. And Ruby, thank you so much for actually sharing with us today as well, because we really want everyone to actually share that we have this program coming up, so that will be really helpful. And I guess in a way, Ruby, you also mentioned about being bold, taking a very courageous sort of like position to actually talk to different people. So I'm gonna move to our next next sessions of the day, which is actually involving a few of our colleagues going to take a very courageous position to actually share some of their views. So I have actually got 4 colleagues with me today. Thank you very much. We got Nina, Sally, Leah, and Talia joining us having a panel discussion. And actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing the slides so I could actually focus and see all of the colleagues as well. And now just to actually say is that I have got some questions actually prepped already for our panel. And just to say that before you actually answer the first questions, if you don't mind just introducing yourself briefly, they'll be very helpful as well. The questions were actually put forward by our members in the Race Equality Network, and also actually we did a bit of a crowdsourcing, so we actually asked around what sort of questions will be useful for people to hear. So without further ado, I'm just gonna bring you all 4 with us. The first questions that I have got is actually to all of you is anti-racism relevant to us all? How so? Why, what do you think? So I'm gonna go to Nina first, if that's all right. Nina.
So I think it is relevant to all of us because all of us have a responsibility for creating a workplace that feels fair and just for everybody. I know we often think about racism in the context of BME, but actually in some of our teams, we've got white colleagues, who are the minority in that team. So it is about everybody. We all contribute to the culture within the organisation, and therefore we are all part of the solution of making the workplace different and making the experience of our patients different as well. We all know about the health inequalities that exist, and I think that we've all got a role to play. And I would say that white colleagues have more power and privilege meaning power, not money, than any other racial group. So I think that's why I think it's a combined effort, because BAME people on their own cannot change the experience and cannot shift the dial. We need to do this together.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina. And I guess this is also the reason why we have got a very diverse panel, and also we include everyone to join us today, because as TJ said right at the beginning, is that racism actually can happen to anyone. Yes. But obviously with people from the BAME background, we actually experience that more from the surveys told us as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Nina. Sally, can I please come to you with the same questions, please? Oh, Sally, I think you're still on mute.
Do beg your pardon, phase of the year. I agree with Nina in that I think we all have a personal responsibility, and we can talk about what the nature of that responsibility is. I'm very aware as a non-exec, the board has a particular responsibility around leadership and role modelling and holding the organisation to account. But I've also come to understand that as a white woman, I will not experience structural and systemic racism in the way that some of my colleagues will, particularly my BAME colleagues. So I feel we have and we can talk about this, a responsibility, but I also acknowledge that structural racism and systemic racism exists, and that I'm not going to experience that in the way that other colleagues clearly do.
Thank you, Sally, for your very honest share and reflections. And can I just say as well, is Sally and actually Leah shortly as well. I think both of you, we actually see you guys as our ally, because it is actually very important to actually recognize that we all need to work collectively together. So thank you for that. Leah, would you like to come in, please?
Thanks, Venus, and thank you for inviting me to to be on the panel. It was a really interesting session that we had at our recent kind of AHP Away Day, around people's experience of racism, but also solutions is the wrong word, but it's the word that kind of comes to mind at the moment, and about actually how the solution includes everyone. So it's not just about going to, the BAME community and saying, what's the solution? What do we need to do? Actually, it's about turning around to ourselves and to kind of everyone, saying, actually, what do we need to do? And what do we need to change? And how do we need to challenge ourselves in the way that we're approaching situations, in the communications that we have, in the conversations that we have with colleagues, in the actions that we take, in order to be part of that solution. And I feel, I do feel very strongly with that. I guess as a manager, as a clinician, working with teams, and I've worked with many teams across the trust. I think each and every one of us is part of that solution, and to step back and say, well, because I'm from, this background, or, or this religion, or whatever, to say that actually we need others to kind of drive this and say what needs to be done. I think that's the wrong approach. I think actually we all have something to bring, to bring to the discussion. And equally, we all have a role to play in challenging ourselves and reflecting on our own kind of behavior and thinking.
Brilliant. Thank you, Leah. And I guess the other important things to actually point out as well is the fact that, Leah, you've been actually working to have the international recruit for AHPs as well. So I think
Correct.
that is actually very important, how your approach, how your actions actually say a lot about how we can support our colleagues from different countries, I would say. So thank you for that. Tanya, so obviously you are the last person who actually got these questions, but I'm also just wondering that would you be able to share a little bit about when we say to all of us, and also include our patients as well, because I know that you actually do have huge responsibility in working with patients.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think I echo what everyone is saying. It's about personal accountability. And it's not just, the lead of diversity or everyone in this steering group. I think it's important that every single individual who works for West London takes something from it and says, I'm going to do something to make a change, whether that's informal conversations, whether that's about setting up a group or helping capture data. And I think I feel very strongly as well, like you said, Venus, that I know our patient population have lots to say, and they have a lot of feeling behind this. And how much time do we take out to listen to them? How much, from their meaningful information, what are we doing about it? And what more can we do about it as well?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tanya. Very reflective answers as well. Thank you for sharing. So my next question is actually, I think we actually used that in the poll already, is actually, what does anti-racism look like or feel like to you? And I'm just wondering if I can actually go to Leah first, because as I said, I know that you've been actually working very hard with actually some of our international recruit HP. So I'm just wondering if you can share a bit of your experience as well.
So the question is, what does anti-racism kind of look like? For me, I guess there's lots of kind of different pockets to that question. To say actually we need to have environments and teams that feel safe and feel contained is really easy and kind of easy words to say, but to actually make that happen can be quite challenging. I think from my point of view, first of all, processes and support kind of processes have to be in place, and they have to be they have to work. So, for example, the restorative resolution kind of work that's offered. I've seen kind of different outcomes of that work and different experiences of people, going through that process. And I think we have to get those things right. They have to be right. Equally, another example I can give is about having diversity champions on interview panels, and that's something that I've kind of asked. I've had lots of diversity champions kind of sit on interview panels with me, and I've often asked, well, do I get feedback? Am I doing it right? Is there something that I can learn? And getting that feedback and having that feedback loop, I think, is really important. So I think there are kind of processes that need to be looked at as to how efficient and whether they're doing kind of what's needed, basically. I think also, the information from the staff survey is really important and really, really helpful. But I've often thought that actually having targeted targeted team surveys is often more helpful. So very similar, kind of an anonymous kind of survey to a specific team that actually speaks much. It actually speaks much louder to that team, because it's not a mass staff survey where, yes, you can pull out information from here, from there, but it's actually what team members are saying, from within the team, and then having the team reflect on that and think about actually what changes need to happen, what things they're doing well, and kind of what can be done to build on the things that are doing well, but also to make improvements. I'm not sure if I've answered your question. I could talk forever on this question, to be fair. I will leave other panel members maybe to make a few points.
Thank you, Leah. I think you did, and I guess what you also have made a very good suggestions is about how do we view surveys, and actually how can we collect the voice from actually people differently as well. So I think I actually noticed that TJ has actually marked something down, so that will be something that we'll be looking into as well. So thank you for that. So if I can actually ask the same questions to Nina about what the sort of like anti-racism look like and feel like, but not just actually to you as an individual, Nina, but also to you as our Chief People Officer as well. What does it feel like for all our staff and organization, please?
Okay. So I think there are lots of different dimensions to this answer, as Leah said, and I would say in terms of what it feels like and looks like to me in my role is something about, first of all, having the courage to acknowledge and where we are at the moment. It's a massive temptation when you're on the board to spin everything positively. But I think we need to have a sense of honesty with ourselves and call things and share the data in a genuine way. I think it's something about a commitment to be proactive. It's about not only saying we're committed to something, but that those words are mirrored with actions. So words not action was the byword when we did the Black History Month, but I think it's so true to everything that we do. And for me, as a board member, that means, is it a priority for the organisation? And I'm really proud to work for an organisation where it is a priority. Do we put resources behind it? Do we have, do we have people working on it? Are we organised in a way that we will get the outcome that we want? We may never solve structural racism ever, but we can make a commitment to continuously improve that we reduce and minimise for our staff and our patients. For me, it's about learning, having a culturally competent and racially aware workforce, and it's about making systemic changes. So we can deal with restorative resolution one issue at a time, but actually, are we reviewing the way our policies work? Are we looking at how we improve things for a greater group of staff and not just looking at individual issues? And lastly, to me, it's about leadership, the commitment from the top, which I think we do have. I think it's about having a diverse leadership to actually reflect that commitment, which we are working towards. So those to me are some of the dimensions of what anti-racism means. And I would summarize it all by, we shouldn't aim to be doing the de minimis about having a workforce that reflects our population. We want a leadership team that reflects our population. That would be really transformational, and it's about being proactive.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nina. And I think you're absolutely right. It's about the priority. It's actually how we can drive the momentum going as well. Fantastic. So if I actually just going to move on to the next questions, because so we got quite a few and I'm just aware of the time as well. It's actually, and this question actually, I'm going to go to Sally first, is can you share your experience as an ally? And actually, if you can share with us any lessons learned or any tips for other people who actually want to be an ally or be a better ally as well, please.
Well, in terms of my own experience, I suppose when I first got to hear experience of BME staff, it's when I was supervising, it was a mid-career nurse lecturer actually, who did a PhD on the career progression of Black British nurses with a Caribbean background. And obviously she went out into trusts and she interviewed the BME nurses around their experience of seeking progression. And what I got from that was what I would call a sort of their views, which were not glossed possibly in a way that if I'd asked the question, I can remember, a lot of people saying, well, this trust is never going to change until we have a more diverse board and things like that, which people would never have been so honest if I've asked a question. So in terms of really getting a real sense of an on-gloss view of BAME staff, I suppose that did give me some insight into that, and I think I possibly I possibly had a naivety around. Although I'd understand overt racism, I suppose at some time I had a naivety around structural racism or systemic racism. But what I have done is, as a non-exec, is obviously I've done the active bystander course, and that was quite an eye-opener to me. And I think it does give you some of the sort of the skills and possibly the confidence to actually call things out. And I think it's you need a context which is supportive of that, but you also need to give people the confidence and the confidence really in what to do in those situations where you might want to have awkward conversations or actually explicitly say no, that's not acceptable. So that's some of my experience.
Thank you, Sally. Again, very, very honest and actually reflective answers to that questions. And I also think that, clearly you were our Speak Up Garden as well. So it was really nice to actually hear how you, what you are doing is actually how you create that space for our colleagues. And I think that's actually one of the things as an ally that actually we would expect, I think. And I'm just wondering if I can actually ask the same questions to Tanya, more in a way that actually, like, what do you expect or what do you think will be helpful for you to see from an ally? What do you think will be helpful to actually for us to drive this agenda together, please?
I think it's what Sally also mentioned, is that we don't know, we don't know everything, and it's an acknowledgement that there is a lot more work to be done, and just listening and being supportive is really important. But also influence as well. Like, if we want something to be done, we want your support, you know, having the right resources, having the right people in place to really push forward our agenda is really important. And it just can't be from BME background. It has to be a joint and collaborative approach. So, and just having more and more people from our allies be aware of of our agendas, what we want, being specific to what we want, being able to challenge and be an advocate for us as well, and having those awkward conversations, being present across different kind of teams, different meetings, again, would be something we'd want from our ally.
Brilliant, Tanya, very, very helpful. And I hope that actually people in this meeting are also taking notes as well, because again, I think you actually speak for us, Tanya, to actually get what sort of support we would value. So I'm actually just aware of the time, and I actually just gonna ask one last question, and this actually will be applicable to you all. The question is actually, what can we do individually to actually shift the dial so that we can support our organizations to become anti-racist? Because at the end of the day, the main thing is that we are part of this journey. We are part of the Trust West London. We are also part of our Northwest London ICS, and then obviously the wider NHS. But I'm just wondering if you can share with us, each of you, the panel members, that what can we do individually? It could be something that actually you're already doing. It could be something that actually you are going to do after today's as well. So what I'm going to do is actually, Nina, I'm going to go to you first, if that's all right.
So I think I'm in a very privileged position, being Chief People Officer, to be able to do something about shifting the dial. But what I can't do is do it on my own. So part of the conversation here will feed into, you know, the organisational response of what we should be doing. And I would like to see this conversation happening in other forums as well, so we all work on it together. So that is my commitment, to make sure that it remains high profile at the board, that we report on what we're doing, we hold ourselves to account for the improvements, and that if we don't make the kind of shift that we want, that at least we have the honest conversation of what we do differently, and that we have an ongoing conversation with this forum and other forums around how we shape what we should be doing for improvement.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina. Sally.
Well, as a non-exec, it's clearly important for non-execs and for the board to really commit to being an anti-racist or organisation, and that, you know, we have that lens when we're looking at culture and policies and processes and allocation of resources. But we've also got a very important role in terms of holding the organisation to account. So it's really important that, I think we have to understand that, you know, there is no one magic bullet, but it's a whole number of interrelated strategies. And I think we need to be able to be brave enough to look at the data and have the really honest conversations around what it's telling us, and combine that with actually, you know, personal narratives. So you've got the two as well, because they can be, data's important when we need to monitor progress, but there's nothing more powerful than talking to people, you know, as a non-exec or as a board member.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sally. Leah, if I can go to you.
Yeah. So I think a few things, and I speak kind of, I guess, from a very personal kind of level. One of the biggest kind of opportunities that I've had to, you know, to learn and gain greater understanding is actually sitting down and talking to my colleagues, and listening to their stories and listening to kind of their experiences. It's really been hugely eye-opening for me to reflect upon kind of how their experience differs from mine, but actually therefore what they bring into the workplace, and how they experience the workplace differently from me. So I think anybody can sit down with a colleague from their team and ask the question and just sit and listen, and it's amazing how much you can kind of learn. I think the second thing for me is about providing the support that is asked for. Those of you who may know me, I will very much kind of go gung-ho and how, this shouldn't happen. But I think sometimes it's about saying, actually, okay, this is what you've experienced. This is what you've experienced. What support do you need from me? Because I'm more than happy to go in gung-ho and, and a challenge and whatever. But actually, sometimes that's not what they want. And sometimes they want, the opportunity to actually challenge themselves, to have conversations, and for me to be a kind of support in the background and know that I've got their back and know that I'm there, supporting quietly. So I think it's really important to ask colleagues what do they want and what do they need from me as a manager and as a colleague. And I think the third thing is just to continue increasing my knowledge and understanding, and I think that's something that we can all do, no matter kind of what our background, what our experience is. Learning whatever that opportunity is key to kind of take us forwards.
Brilliant, thank you, Leah. Tanya.
So I think there's a lot of great things already happening to support our agenda. And I'm just thinking about how that gets filtered down at all levels, especially kind of the ground levels. It's from my experience that probably quite a few people don't even know that the REN network exists and some of the stuff that we're talking about. And I think I guess it comes back again about personal accountability. Where, as people in this group, should we feed this information to? In our local governance, in our local kind of professional groups, is there an agenda or a subheading dedicated to EDI? If there isn't, should we suggest it? So it's thinking about now, how do we filter this information everywhere? Because again, if we don't, then it becomes a group of people's responsibility and not everybody's responsibility.
Brilliant, thank you, Tanya. And actually, thank you all of our panel members, because I think you guys have all shared very honestly your views, your thoughts about anti-racism, the agenda, how we can actually be more proactive. And also there's some really fantastic tips that actually you're sharing with us as well, to think a little bit about what we can do differently. And I guess at the end of the day, what we've been trying to say in any forum is really about how we can take accountability of the work that we do, the things that we actually say, and how we actually listen to other people's stories as well. So I think there's a lot of things that actually we can really learn. I literally just gonna share a few last slide, and just to actually say as well is I noticed that actually Celia, I think you had your hands up earlier, so I don't know whether actually you would like to come in very quickly while I search for the slides, or if you would like to actually put some comments in the chat as well. I will continue, and then if anyone's want to put their hands up, they're welcome to.
Sorry, I had just put my hand up because the screen had gone blue. I was just asking about that, but it switched back.
Brilliant, that's great. Thank you, Celia. So I just gonna have a few last slides to actually share with you. But unfortunately, TJ actually needed to go to a different meeting, so I'm gonna try my best to actually be channel my inner TJ in me, so I could share with you guys what we're gonna do, what's gonna happen next. So as we actually said, this is what we are aiming to do. There's a bit of a model or a progress here. It's actually we gotta prioritize, as Nina has actually made it very clear as our Chief People Officer as well, is that our board, the fact that actually we are being supported and encouraged to actually have a conversation and have the race equality network. That is actually how we are prioritizing. We will also be having policy and strategy coming up, which I think TJ have already mentioned, maybe to actually some of you as well, is it will be coming up on the exchange very soon. So we are going to prioritize, we are prioritizing anti-racism as our priority. We also want to understand about lived experience. So as you know, we already got some platform, we got some mechanisms, we got the Speak Up Guardians, we got Speak Up champions, and as Leah said earlier as well, we also got diversity champions. We got a very platform for people to actually share their understanding, their feelings. But the other things that actually we're not doing so well, and actually that's one thing that as the Race Equality Network, we have discussed it several quite a lot, is actually whether we can create a psychological safe space on a regular basis to actually listen to people, what they either come as a group or in a smaller group, is actually sharing and hearing the experience that they had. Could be positive, could be negative. That is also something that we are currently putting into. So hopefully you will hear more as well. And then we are talking about growth. We want to have more inclusive leaders. So as you know that we had various programs. We got the White Allies programs that actually we had it last year, and we also have the new very practical and actually sounds really fantastic BAME leadership programs that Ruby is leading. So we are going to continue to actually push this agenda. And remember as well, we also have our leadership forum. That actually we do have a lot of leaders there. So some of the conversation that we've been having is really about putting EDI on the agenda. And as Tanya said, it's actually what's more actions that we can do, which link to the next bit about tackling inequalities, because and I know that this is something very is actually on Ray, Caroline, is in your agenda, because you've been actually setting up the Tackling Inequalities Committee, chair it, and actually encourage us to actually look into the work, the program, the deliverables that we're doing, but also thinking a little bit about not just a space, creating an environment for the staff, but also for our patients as well, because at the end of the day, that is actually our priority, to ensure that we deliver the best and actually meeting the population needs. And then finally, that is the bit that I think TJ, and I know that Nathan and actually Ali with Nina, you are using different mechanism to actually review our progress. So obviously we talk about staff survey, and I think Leah, you suggested, and actually in the poll results we also someone actually mentioned about a specific survey, maybe surveys within the different service lines. So that will be something that we will be also looking at as well. So just to very quickly, I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your voice today. I know some of you have actually put down in the chat box, and actually some of you have put in the poll. But I think it's actually very important to remember that this is actually just the beginning of really us just talking about it, that we are becoming anti-racist organizations. We are hoping that we will have a follow-up. We want to ensure that we're not going to lose the momentum as well. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I don't know whether actually the poll is still open, but if not, if you would like to actually share with us more, then please reach out to TJ, please reach out to me. And we also got our Race Equality Network, as Tanya said, not everyone actually knows about it yet. So please reach out to us. And actually, I will put down Freena's email in the chat box later, because she could be someone that actually you can link up, and Nadia's as well, to actually join in and actually schedule our meeting. Now, just moving on slightly, I hope that you guys have already noticed and actually have seen this in on the exchange as well, because it was actually launched officially yesterday, I believe, by the cons team. And actually, NHS confederations have put this out about inclusive leadership pledge that actually any of us will be able to do. And I think actually once you actually made a pledge as well, you can actually share it on social media. But the idea is that if you actually look at the behaviors and actually look at the commitments, the ambitions that we actually have got as an organization, we are actually asking everyone to consider how can we all be inclusive leaders. And the key thing is, being an inclusive leader, it doesn't matter about, it's not about the position, it's about your responsibility. It's about what sort of actions you can take. And this is something that we are encouraging everyone. It doesn't matter whether you are registered colleagues, whether you are a nurse, whether you're HCA, whether you're AHP support worker, allied health professions support worker, or student. Everyone could actually take responsibility for their own behaviors and acts. So I would definitely encourage you to actually look into this. All the detailed information should be on the exchange. So I hope that you will be able to join us on this journey. just moving on very quickly, and I think that this is something that TJ has already mentioned earlier, and we just actually want to say that this is just share with you that, as you could actually see, we work. It's a very this is the survey result, and we have continued to change, and also you can actually see that we are having more a diverse workforce. So the reason why we also want to put this in here as well is the fact that we still got a lot of work to do, and we are absolutely doing something right. We got the support, we got the drive that actually we want to do, but we still got a long way to go. So I'm actually hoping that by the time that we actually have another meetings in the future, we'll be able to show people that actually the 2023, 2024 staff surveys will actually continue to improve. And this is actually what we are trying to do, is to actually ensure that everyone feels safe and actually they can be themselves in West London NHS Trust. I think actually that is lets us to the end of the workshop, and I know that we can continue to talk about this topic, and I know our panel guests actually are very willing to actually share more insight as well. But we're also very aware of the time, and so I just want to say thank you very much from everyone who joined us today. I'm very happy to take any questions or comments, and yeah, and I just want to say that please share with your colleagues. We have got poster actually putting up as well, but we also know, as I said, information is on the exchange, but not necessarily everyone has some access to the exchange. So please encourage the people in your network of influence or network of sphere of influence, if you can actually get them to join us as well. Happy to take any comments or feedback, really. Brilliant, thank you, Ruby. That's actually a very, very good point. Brilliant, yeah, and I think this is actually very important about the lived experience as well, because there's something about the trauma, but equally I also think that when we talk about lived experience, I think we need to remember that it's not just about the lived experience, the person actually who share, but also the person who receive, who actually listen to the stories as well, because I think, as Leah said earlier as well, it's all about learning how we can actually listen to other people, and the support that we need to put in place should be actually for both way. It's a little bit like, sometimes I don't want to give you extra work, Ruby, but I did actually think about when we were all talking and different people sharing, is that we often talk about we got BAME leadership, training. So what about the people who are allies? What about the people that actually at different level that who want to understand and learn more about the cultural issues? And so that's actually something that we can do, where we can actually consider in the future as well. Brilliant. That's great. That's great. So I don't know how we actually managed to do it, but we are slightly early for this workshop to actually finish, because we actually scheduled it to 2:30. As I said, I don't know how it happens, but thank you very much everyone for joining us, and especially special thanks to TJ, Ruby, who actually joined us as our speakers. But I also want to say thank you very much to Nina, Sally, Leah, and Tanya, because you guys have been fantastic, sharing your very honest share. And I would like to thank that actually by sharing your views, we will now have more people having conversation, and maybe they might reach out to you, talking to you as well. But thank you very much everyone for coming and joining us today, and please leave any comments, and I know that we will be looking for some feedback as well, so watch this space is what I will say. Thank you very much, and
thank you, Venus.
Thanks, Venus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Venus.
Thank you.
oh, I think oh yeah, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.